Target has perfect gifts for the best times of your life.
Friday, the best magic begins.
The new merchandise! I've got the new merchandise!
They weren't the biggest, they weren't the cheapest, but they were definitely the strangest. Best Products was the store with buildings that looked like art projects, catalogs that filled mailboxes across America, and a shopping model that felt part museum, part warehouse. Families remember it. Designers still study it. But what happened? How did something so bold and different disappear so fast?
My boss called me up, my district manager called me up one day on a Sunday, and he told us, we're closing all of the locations in California.
From its wild beginnings to its slow, quiet end, this is a story of vision, risk, and retail evolution. Join us as we look into what really happened to Best Products, Best History. Before it became a retail wonderland, Best started with a much simpler idea and a bold vision. Let's go back to 1957. A couple named Sidney and Frances Lewis had an idea. They weren't just thinking about sales, they wanted to build something that looked and felt different.
The thing about Best, which made us different, were the owners, the Lewis family. They were amazing, amazing people.
They started in Richmond, Virginia. At first, it was a mail-order catalog business. People could flip through pages, pick what they liked, and order from home. It was simple, and it worked. But here's what made it special. Frances loved art. And not just a little. She collected it, studied it, and lived it. That love for design and beauty found its way into the business. Best wasn't just about getting a deal. It was about making shopping feel nice, clean, and even fun.
And they taught us so many things about how to run a business, morally and ethically, and it was always a clean slate.
By the early 1970s, they moved from just mail orders to real stores. These weren't your average stores, though. They were showrooms. You'd walk in, see the product, and then place an order to have it delivered. No crowds, no piles, just space and order. The store layout was calm and well thought out. Clean shelves, neat aisles. No loud signs yelling at you. And then came something wild. The buildings themselves became part of the show. Best teamed up with an artist named James Wines and his group called Sight. They designed stores that looked like something out of a dream or a prank. One looked like it was falling apart. Another had the front corner peeling off like paper. One even looked like the bricks were melting. People were shocked. Some were confused, but most couldn't stop looking. These stores weren't just for shopping. They became places people talked about. Even if you didn't buy anything, you remembered the building. Best fits perfectly with the times. It was the 60s and 70s. Suburbs were growing. Malls were popping up. Families had cars and were ready to spend. But they also wanted something fresh, something they hadn't seen before. Best gave them that, a mix of order and surprise. A place that respected design but didn't take itself too seriously. From the start, Best wasn't like the others. It made people look twice, and that was the whole point. After building the dream, Best was ready to grow and grow big. By the mid-1970s, Best was on fire. It wasn't just a little catalog business anymore, it was turning into a retail giant. The secret? A clever way of selling. You didn't just walk in, grab a box, and leave. At Best, you looked at floor models. You wrote down what you wanted on a form. Then you gave it to a clerk. Minutes later, your product came out from the back, boxed and ready. No mess, no chaos.
If something was out of stock and they really needed it, we busted our butt to get it for them, especially toys. Oh man.
Just smart, simple shopping. This showroom method worked really well. It helped keep prices low and stores neat. People loved that. And they kept coming back. The product range was solid. You could get furniture, electronics, jewelry, and appliances all at prices that didn't break the bank. Best wasn't trying to be fancy. It wanted to be affordable, especially for middle-class families. By the 1980s, the company had over 200 stores. That's right, more than 200, coast to coast. Most were in the suburbs where families lived, drove, and spent money on home goods. But Best didn't forget its roots. The catalog business kept going strong. Around the holidays, millions of catalogs were shipped out. People flipped through them like they were gift guides. For many, it became a yearly tradition. Behind the scenes, Best treated its staff like family. New workers went through training. Stores followed a centralized system. This kept things organized and smooth across all locations. But what really sets Best apart? It was the look. Those wild buildings weren't a side thing. They were part of the plan. Best partnered again with Sight and James Wines to build 9 iconic stores. These included locations in Richmond, Houston, Miami, and Sacramento. Each one looked like a piece of modern art, half building, half sculpture. People came just to stare. Some took photos, others walked in just out of curiosity. That attention brought more foot traffic and more sales. Media outlets picked up on the trend. Best wasn't just a store anymore, it was a retail experience. The stores were like galleries, but the prices felt like a bargain bin. That strange mix worked. At this time, Best was competing with other showroom-style chains like Service Merchandise, Circuit City, and even Sears. All used a similar model, but none looked like Best. Revenue climbed. Stores kept opening. The company went public on the New York Stock Exchange. It looked like Best had made it to the big leagues. Everything was running full speed. The building stood tall, the catalogs kept rolling, and shoppers kept showing up. It was the golden age of Best products, and the sky seemed to be the limit. Coming up, we'll find out how new rivals, old habits, and fast changes started shaking Best's foundation. By the late 1980s, Best still looked strong. But inside, things weren't as steady as they seemed. At first, it was small stuff. Delays in getting products, stock not arriving on time. Customers were getting annoyed. But those little things added up fast. The early 1990s brought a big recession. People stopped spending like before. That hurt stores like Best, where many products were non-essential. The showroom idea, once clever, started feeling slow. Shoppers now wanted speed. They didn't want to wait for the staff. They wanted to grab and go. Best's model meant customers had to fill out forms and wait for items to arrive from the back. For years, that system worked. Now, it felt outdated. Meanwhile, stores like Walmart, Target, and Best Buy were rising fast. They offered one-stop shopping. You could walk in, grab what you wanted, and check out in minutes.
Target has perfect gifts for the best times of your life. Stop by the Target gift registry, get a scanner, and scan in the gifts you want. It's quick, easy, and fun.
Why wait at Best when you could leave Walmart with a TV right away? Service Merchandise, a chain similar to Best, was already struggling. And Best was following the same path. Both were stuck between old habits and a fast-changing retail world. Best also made a big mistake by growing too fast. New stores kept opening, but the systems behind them weren't keeping up. Inventory problems, slow deliveries, and tech issues began to pile up. The brand also had a bit of an identity problem. Was it a warehouse, a discount store, a modern art gallery? Even loyal shoppers weren't always sure. That confusion made things worse. At a time when retail was getting sharper and more direct, Best seemed stuck in the middle. Competition was everywhere. In jewelry, appliances, and electronics, new chains were offering better prices and faster service.
Best has always had excellent prices. This gives you the unmatched opportunity to save even more. Discount price to begin with. Now cashiers deduct 30% more on all jewelry items.
To make matters worse, catalogs, once Best's secret weapon, started fading. People were watching TV shopping channels or calling 1-800 numbers to order directly. Then came early online shopping. Best didn't jump in fast enough. Sidney Lewis, the company's founder, slowly stepped away during this time. He was the heart of the brand, full of creativity and big ideas. But he wasn't a numbers guy. He wasn't a systems guy either. As he left, the company lost its clear direction. New leaders struggled to fix the cracks. Tech wasn't updated. Logistics stayed slow. The stores looked cool, but behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Staff started feeling it too.
Holy cow, what a mess. Look at this place. I can't believe...
The best family spirit faded as stress and confusion grew. Customers noticed. Best was no longer ahead. It was falling behind. The signs were everywhere. But by the time they became obvious, it was already late. It finally happened on September 24, 1996. Best Products filed for Chapter 11, bankruptcy. For many, it came as a shock. People had grown up shopping at Best. The buildings were familiar, the catalogs were part of the holidays, and now it was all falling apart. But behind the scenes, it made sense. The business model was out of date. The showroom style was no longer fast or fresh. Debt had been building up for years, and while competitors were getting sharper, quicker, and more digital, Best didn't keep pace. The result? A company that once led the way was now struggling to keep its head above water. As the bankruptcy was announced, the news spread fast. Newspapers covered it. TV stations did reports. Customers couldn't believe it. Many stores started shutting down. Layoffs followed. Families who had worked there for years were suddenly left with nothing. It hit hard. In the months that followed, Best tried to clean things up. They cut back on catalogs. They shut down the weakest stores. They tried to upgrade the showroom systems. There was a plan, but the clock was ticking fast. Across the industry, catalog retailers were feeling the heat. Service merchandise was hurting too.
And then if they say twins, you order a next one for free. And I mean, that's a really great idea. I mean, like kids like things that dissolve and stuff.
The world was changing, and print-based shopping was fading. At the time, Best's leadership said they believed in a comeback. They weren't ready to give up. But the retail world was moving too quickly. Big box stores were booming. Online shopping was creeping in. Direct response TV was everywhere. Customers were chasing speed and ease. Best couldn't keep up. To survive, the company made big moves. It dropped the jewelry business. That had been a major part of sales. But now, it was slowing them down. They hoped this shift would buy them time. But confidence was low. Vendors pulled away. The company's stock was delisted. Debt numbers climbed. In local news, the focus was on people, not numbers.
Struggled through years of losses and the closure of hundreds of stores before today's bankruptcy filing with $5.6 billion of debt.
Reporters spoke to workers who were losing their jobs and customers who would miss the showroom. For many towns, losing Best felt like losing a piece of home. Even with the recovery plan, things weren't looking good. There were just too many changes happening all at once. And Best, once bold and different, now seemed lost. It wasn't just a company struggling. It was a symbol of a past retail world fading fast. In 1997, Best came out of bankruptcy. The company had trimmed costs, closed stores, and made a solid effort to survive. But something was missing, and that was momentum. The world around them had already changed. In just a few years, shopping habits looked very different. E-commerce was growing fast. Amazon was launched in 1994.
The newest thing in Amazon.com is our brand new video store. It's a full-scale video store bringing the Amazon.com shopping experience to videos online.
eBay was gaining attention. People were slowly getting used to buying online, and Best didn't keep up. The company had no real online plan. The website existed but didn't offer a full shopping experience. While other stores were building digital tools, Best stayed focused on its old model. Shoppers noticed. They started drifting away. The stores looked tired. The magic that once pulled people in was gone. Foot traffic kept falling. Even loyal fans started skipping visits. It just wasn't the same anymore. To fight back, Best tried heavy discounts. They ran more seasonal ads.
Some people act like part of their income is disposable because they throw away the savings in the Stop and Shop circular. It's filled with hundreds of weekly specials like 10-ounce Eagle Thins potato chips.
Prices were slashed to bring customers in, but it didn't work. They were competing in a world that wanted faster, newer, and easier. Other retailers with similar setups were also falling apart. Montgomery Ward was struggling. Service merchandise was fading. The old showroom style was dying across the board.
So I see that when you buy the Macintosh 600, you're just buying this right here, and you put stuff with it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see. This is it here.
Comes with a 160 meg hard drive and 4 megabytes of RAM.
In September 1997, it became clear that Best couldn't bounce back. The fixes weren't working. The gap between them and modern retail was too wide. By mid-1998, the company made its final call. Best would shut down all its remaining stores. For many, it felt like the end of an era. News crews covered the last days. Employees said emotional goodbyes. Some had worked there for decades. Others remembered shopping there as kids. Former founders and longtime fans spoke about what Best meant. It wasn't just a store. It was part of life. People remembered the wild buildings, the quiet showroom floors, and the catalogs that came every year. It had a style all its own, but that style belonged to another time, and that time had passed. In late 1998, Best Products officially closed its doors for good. No more boxes were rolling out from the back. No more order forms. No more surreal buildings catching drivers' eyes. Just a memory of a company that once tried to blend shopping with art and almost pulled it off. You can shut down a business, but you can't erase an idea that changed how people saw retail. Best Products closed in 1998, but even now, people still talk about it, and not just for what it sold, but for how it looked. From the start, Best was different. The founders, Sidney and Francis Lewis, didn't want a boring store. Francis was a huge art lover. That passion for art shaped everything Best did. They teamed up with Sight, a group led by architect James Wines.
He's thought about form and function and what our expectations are about commercial buildings, and I take that as our contribution to the community.
What came next was unlike anything shoppers had ever seen. Some stores looked like they were falling apart. Others had walls that peeled open like a cardboard box. One had trees growing right through the entrance. These weren't mistakes. They were planned. They made people stop, stare, and wonder, is this really a store? And yes, it was. This was the first time many people saw postmodern art in real life. Not in a museum, not in a gallery, but outside their local electronics store. Sight called it de-architecture. They took the normal idea of a building and flipped it on its head. And Best said, go for it. These stores weren't just cool, they made a statement. They asked big questions like, what is shopping really about? Are we just buying stuff, or are we buying an experience? At the time, that was new. Very few companies thought like that. Today, students in architecture schools study these buildings. Professors use them as examples of how to mix function with surprise. They show how art can live in everyday life. Some of these buildings still stand. Even if Best is gone, the walls are still there. Strange, bold, unforgettable. One store in Richmond, for example, was preserved and repurposed. Others were turned into offices, storage centers, or simply kept as historic landmarks. Design magazines still write about them. Museums like MoMA and the V&A have included Best's design story in their exhibitions. The press calls them retail sculptures, a mix of store and art. And here's the wild part. Best was doing this long before companies like Apple made retail experience a trend. Now, stores spend millions to make shopping feel special. But back in the 70s and 80s, Best was already doing it. The layout, the design, and even the facades all worked together to create something memorable. People didn't just come to shop, they came to see the building. They brought their kids, they took pictures, they told friends. In many ways, Best predicted the future of retail, where brands want you to feel something, not just buy something. The company also captured a moment in American culture. The suburbs were booming. Malls were full. Catalogs were on every coffee table. Best took all of that and added art. It reflected the dreams of middle-class families. The idea that shopping could be joyful, smart, and even a little weird. Architects today still look back at Best as a bold experiment that worked, at least in spirit. It reminded everyone that business doesn't have to be boring, that design matters, and that even a store can make people feel something. In the end, Best's greatest product wasn't what it sold. It was what it built and what it inspired. So, what really killed Best products? The answer isn't one thing. It's a mix of small choices, missed chances, and the world changing faster than Best could. First, let's talk about e-commerce. While Amazon was just getting started in 1994, it moved fast. It focused on speed, selection, and convenience.
Amazon today is worth more than Sears.
Investors are focused on the future. Amazon has growth potential that Sears doesn't.
Customers could shop anytime. No driving, no waiting in lines. Just click, buy, done. Best didn't keep up. Their website was weak. It didn't offer full shopping. It didn't make people switch from catalogs to clicks. Logistics was another issue. Amazon and later Best Buy spent heavily on warehouses and delivery. They tracked inventory in real time. Products moved quickly. Customers didn't wait long. Best still relied on old systems. Items were stuck in the back. Orders were slow. Even if the store looked modern, the process felt clunky. And then there was the model itself, the showroom setup. At one point, it made sense. It saved space and felt clean. But in the 90s, people wanted speed. They didn't want to fill out a form and wait at the counter. Other stores gave shoppers what they wanted right away. Walmart lets people grab and go. Target made it fun and cheap. Best was stuck in between. Not cheap enough to fight Walmart. Not premium enough to match department stores.
Wow, Target's incredible. Just when you think $1 won't buy much anymore, Target comes up with their famous dollar sale. Look what $1 buys at Target.
That's what experts call mid-market confusion. Best didn't have a clear identity anymore. Meanwhile, Best Buy was rising. It sold electronics fast. It gave deals and kept shelves full. It also started exploring digital tools. Best didn't. Even as tech took over, Best stayed tied to its old ways. It didn't offer real-time shopping. It didn't personalize the experience. It didn't use data to improve sales. Other brands were testing new ideas, things like omni-channel shopping, same-day delivery, and later AR-based showrooming. Best didn't test any of them. By the time it tried to fix things, the world had already moved on. Best wasn't a bad idea. In fact, it was a great one for its time. But it stayed stuck there. It never grew past the version that had worked in the 70s and 80s. The buildings got people talking. The brand felt creative. But that wasn't enough to beat faster, smarter competition. Retail is brutal. You have to adapt constantly. You can't just be different. You have to be fast, flexible, and always improving. That's why companies like Amazon and Best Buy made it. They saw what was coming and changed.
At Amazon.com, and you know, this really has been a huge effort over the last 5 years. We still have tons of work to do.
Best didn't. In the end, Best was a brilliant idea trapped in an analog world. It gave people something to talk about, but not enough to keep them coming back. As one former customer said, "You didn't go to Best just to shop, you went to feel something." And maybe that's why people still remember it. Best Products is gone, but the memories still stick. It wasn't just about what you bought, it was about how it felt. Bold ideas, wild buildings, and a shopping experience no one could forget. If you liked this story and want more retail history like this, hit the like button, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe. More stories are on the way.